Do you want to know how to survive a recession? Well, we're going to give you 3 financial tips that helped us get through multiple recessions. We now, I think, have been through 3 recessions. When we first entered the labor force was like around the dot-com recession. Then we had our second recession when the '07 housing crash happened. I think we were almost about to have our 3rd child at that time. So we experienced that recession. And most recently, the COVID recession hit. And we actually did better on that recession than we ever had. And it set us on a path to financial independence. Now we're going to kind of give you our tips of how to master the recessions and get the most out of it and how to make a little bit of money. First tip is budgeting and expense tracking. You're going to have to get a handle of that before you do anything, because if you don't know where the problems are, you don't know how to fix them. So how did we go about budget and expense?
I think you gotta keep in mind too, you gotta have a financial maturity also, because there's some things, like some goals that you put in there that should not be.
Buy a Bugatti.
So financial maturity goes a long way, because I think that's what happened with the first 2 recessions is we were so like young and dumb, and we didn't even think about what we're doing or why we were doing it. We just did.
But that's what this video is for, to give you a shortcut to it. So here's what we would do now.
Budgeting and expense tracking. Very first thing I would say is get all your expenses and write them down, whether it's digital or on paper, but sit down together and write every single expense, any subscriptions you have, water bill, light bill, housing.
Even things that are irregular, like some people pay for trash, even things that aren't every month. Keep track of everything.
With their due date, credit card statement date, how often you pay them, and the exact amount that you have to pay. Try to avoid having any type of late fees. So those should not be included in that. Gas, you can kind of give a roundabout number, kind of guesstimate how much you have, and then as you go, you can track your gas expenses and figure out exactly how much you tend to spend. When you're first starting, you can do kind of a guesstimation of gas.
Your light bill's going to fluctuate depending on what the weather's like, how much AC you use, how much light you use.
Yeah, those you can kind of look at your past bills and kind of see what your history is like. If you've been at a certain residence, you can go to like your last year's expenses and see what you were spending last summer and kind of give a roundabout number going that way, or give yourself a max and minimum budget on that.
Once you have all your expenses down and tracked, you want to look at all your income. Now you have all your expenses laid out, you want to look at all your income and make sure that the income you're bringing in covers all those expenses, not some, all those expenses. If your income doesn't cover everything that you laid out, that's a no-go.
You have 2 options.
Yes.
Option 1, cut some expenses. Option 2, bring in more income.
You have to make sure you're living within your means.
And not like right under your means, like your spendings is at $2,000 and your earnings like $2,050. That's too close.
Yeah.
So you got to give yourself a buffer room in between those 2 numbers.
What we did was we figured out what cards and what accounts cover which expenses. So we have an account for food. That's the only thing that card is used for. We use it for food. We get reward points for food.
Which is great because it lets us know exactly what our food budget is. Because as we were going, we were like, well, how much did we spend on food? Well, now all we do is check our card balance.
Yep.
Before we had to like go through our bank statements, we had to go through our credit card statements, we had to figure out what cash we had on hand, and when we paid in cash, we tried saving receipts. So now it all goes on one card. We've done the same thing with subscriptions. Our subscription services, what do we have? We have Netflix, we have Disney Plus, Amazon Prime. All of those are all put onto one credit card. That should not be over a certain budget either. You don't want to be spending too much on these subscriptions, and it lets you see, are you actually using them?
Yeah.
Which ones can you cut off? Netflix is close to getting cut off.
Real close. Organizing how things are paid, when they're paid, just having an organized system that you don't always have to check. Because at first we were checking our accounts regularly. We were making sure
we're doing it.
It was working.
Almost daily or nightly, because we tend to sit down at night, but we would do it nightly to like every other day.
That can get tedious. So in time, we put in just systems in place. Cards pay certain balances. This is designated for this. We know that the balances can exceed that because the cards have limits. So they can't exceed that. We know our income covers those expenses. So we set it and forget it. And then just kind of rely on your system.
Quick middle bubble, it would be write down your expenses, write down your income, and organize your credit cards and stuff like that. So you pick and choose what goes to what. So organization of your bills is very important.
Tip number 2 is setting financial goals. You want to set financial goals together so you know what lies ahead.
Well, we laid out what we wanted to do, kind of in a normal discussion, like what are we trying to get to? What are we trying to do? And what are we tired of dealing with?
Late fees,
missed payments, or try to juggle our money. Like, hey, we were going to go eat. What card are we going to use? Or who's paying for it? Or what's covering what?
Yeah.
Was a big thing because organization was horrible.
It was. So since we were tired of the disorganization, we set clear goals. What do we want our money to do? We knew that we wanted to travel more and we wanted to save for rainy days. So if things did pop up, we wouldn't be caught by surprise by a flat tire or something else breaking down on a vehicle or an emergency expense coming up. We set savings accounts up that were separate from our checking, because I think once they go in our savings account, we don't consider it our money anymore.
And we made it hard to get a hold of. Like, we have one savings account that there's no branches anywhere in our city. So we can't even go and take the money out. Like, if we can withdraw it, but it takes 2 days for us to get it.
It's like that Kevin Hart joke. I got a check-in and a savings. All my money's in my savings. It take 2 business days. That's literally what we had to do ourselves.
We made it hard to get a hold of some of that money. His paycheck would go, a small percentage would go. My paycheck would put a small percentage into that savings. But I think one of the biggest things that we did was our side hustles. Our side hustles the money that you get from side hustles can fluctuate so much. Like, you cannot depend on it because you never know what it's going to be. So we've gotten to the point where we don't even count it as money. It just goes straight into the savings. That allows us to put money in there without putting it towards our bills or feeling like we have to count it towards our bills, or when we don't get it, we're short.
Yeah.
So now it's just savings, and it builds up pretty quick doing it.
Yeah. If it's out of sight, it really is out of mind.
I think the one thing we used to have that we don't have anymore, that's just because we switch banks or something like that we didn't have it, but we loved it. Yes. Keep the change. If your bank offers to keep the change, we saved so much when we had that. Yes. We don't have it anymore. But
yeah, you can also use apps like Acorn that'll round your purchases up every time you use your card. It'll round your purchases up with an investment account. Another financial goal that we had that I took the driver's seat in was investments, setting up 401ks, things that will not only save our money, but will build it and generate interest. So that's one thing that we also automated. And I think we set up payment plans for our trips. We love taking trips. We love traveling. We love taking the whole family. We put those into the budget. We put those into the plan and would pay them off in sections before the trip ever came. That was our goal. That was us laying out our plan. And that's the thing that we wanted to do most, was travel.
Another thing was our debt. We had a lot of debt that we had to take care of. I took on an extra side hustle, and any money that came in from that went straight to my debt. And that was my way of getting rid of my own debt.
Yes.
And then as I took care of mine, he took care of his, doing the same thing. Side hustles, money goes towards that, as well as into the savings, until we were able to take care of the debt, eliminate that, and then after that, it all went to savings. And call the debt collectors. Make a deal with them. A lot of times they will take 50% of what you actually owe, 20% even. Sometimes if you're great at negotiations, call your debt collectors. They will work with you.
Yes. And you can get that off your report. It'll help your score overall. The third financial tip we have is money saving just habits that you have to develop, that you want to make your dollars go farther. Because in a recession, already inflation's bad enough, but in a recession, jobs get cut. Things become harder to get a hold of. Your money doesn't go as far as it used to. You have to get smart. How did we save more money just with healthy habits?
I'm huge on couponing. Grocery apps. Most grocery stores have an app, have a rewards program of some kind. Look at them before you go grocery shopping. Check out their coupons. Our local grocery store is really great about releasing their coupons every Wednesday. I usually wait until Wednesday, and then I'll check all the coupons, clip them all onto my app, save them, and then we go grocery shopping. There are certain items that we buy in bulk that are cheaper because we eat so much of it or go through so much of it, toilet paper, things like that. So we go to the big box stores for them.
Yeah, the Costco's, the Sam's Club, whichever you prefer.
One of my favorite is food apps. McDonald's has a rewards program, Whataburger.
Dutch Bros,
my new addiction.
Another way you can do it is, and a thing we've done, is cook at home instead of dining out so much. Yes, when you want to dine out, use rewards, try to make it as saving as possible. But a big way to save is just make those dishes at home.
Find the money saving dishes, because we are a family of 6, and there are some dishes that even now, as expensive as food prices are, there are about 4 dishes that I can cook that I can buy for under $30.
Yeah.
And then there's some that, of course, I'm still spending $50, $60 buying just the ingredients for these foods, but it still beats $90 to $120 when we go out to eat.
Yeah, plan your week out. Planning seems to be the overarching tip here. Really start just taking care of your money, focus on growing it as opposed to spending it. That doesn't mean you don't spend on things. It just means that it's planned.
Every single penny matters. So if you have a coupon and it's like 50 cents off, use the damn coupon. It's 50 cents.
Over time, that could build up. You can generate interest on everything you put in. Like, we didn't expect our savings account to grow as fast as it has, just from little deposits here and there. Even though we are facing a recession, it looks like it's inevitable. Inflation still not where we want it to be. There is opportunity to grow.
And use your time. Like, yes, you have a full-time job, and a lot of people feel this way and say this that I've heard is, I work a full 40 hours. I shouldn't have to get a side job, or I shouldn't have to get a second job. There's a lot of things we shouldn't have to do, but that's not the society we live in or the country we live in.
You can advance even in tough times. We came out of, like I said, we came out of this last recession in a better financial position than we had ever been in our lives. And we came from nothing at that point because we had just lost our business going into COVID. Right before, we had lost our business. So we went from making a lot of money to making nothing, unemployed, and having to completely rebuild our credit, our income, everything we had built during the recession.
I feel we have more to show now than we did when we were bringing in almost 4 times our income that we're currently at. We had nothing but bills and
lifestyle free.
And
lifestyle free. Spent it as fast as we made it. So we've learned lessons through the recession.
Yeah. I think COVID helped. We got stuck at home, and it really gave us the time that we needed to focus on what we were trying to do, what we were trying to grow, and where we wanted to go to our goals.
Those are our 3 financial tips for surviving a recession. Hope those helped. Best of luck to everybody out there. Adios.
Adios.